This is the Flood and Erosion Control Board meeting of October 20th, 2020. And in attendance are Becky Bunnell, Chair.
Okay. Don Lamberti.
Dick Mahusky, Secretary.
Peter Wiswell.
Prue? I don't know. Prue O'Brien, Recording Secretary.
Okay.
Okay, and so we have a quorum, and we will begin the agenda meeting. The first item on call is approval of the minutes from September 15th, which Prue had sent around. Does anyone have any comments on those minutes?
No. Looks good.
Can I have a motion?
I have two comments. This is Dick. One is item 3 on the call, way at the very end of that item. It says, once approved, he will send the document to Jim Wendt, Emmeline Harrigan, and the Board of Selectmen. I think that the word he should be replaced by FECB, the Flood and Erosion Control Board.
Okay.
That document would, after approval, be sent by us. So I think FECB has more of the sense of it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
And then the second comment on item 6, second line up from the bottom, there needs to be sand mitigation. I would suggest inserting the word migration so that it reads, there needs to be sand migration mitigation.
All right. Thank you.
All I have.
Then can I hear a motion to approve the minutes as amended by Dick?
Okay, a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Can I have everyone in favor say aye?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved unanimously. Okay. Item 2 on call is a review of the Flood and Erosion Control Board Master Plan. And I actually do not have any updates for the group today, but I don't know, Dick, if you have anything from Water Treatment Plant. I know you go to their meetings, and I think we updated Brewster River last time, but I don't know if there's any more.
I was going to do that on other business. As far as the master plan, I did not look back thoroughly. Becky, you and I had gone back and forth, and the last iteration that I'm aware of is when we had the little brief commentaries added to each item, and you have subsequently sent them to Brian Carey, I believe, because Brian said,
yes.
Okay, thanks, helpful.
So my understanding is that he submitted everything except for the study proposal that we asked to have put in, the study proposal to do the wave mitigation plan, but everything else he has submitted as part of the budget process. Now, whether or not that gets approved is will be. I think the budget meeting has been moved to, I believe, December 10th now, so it keeps getting moved out, but. At this point, Brian has submitted everything that we had put into the 21-22 fiscal year column, with the exception of that study.
Okay.
What
I'm thinking is that have Becky did, because I think my last awareness was I made some additional commentary to what you had put together, Becky, and sent that back to you. You massaged that and sent it to Brian, I believe.
And send it to
and
Brian.
Did you also send that back out to all the board members?
I maybe did not. I will send the final out to the board members at the end of this meeting.
All right.
Okay.
Because the other related topic there is I'm thinking that once we're satisfied with that, we should really issue that as an update to the Flood and Erosion Control Board's master plan for Fairfield. The original one is from 2015. This has been 5 years, so this could be our 5-year update. It doesn't have to be 90 pages long. It can be a lot simpler, just as the 2020 addendum to the master plan or something like that. Because my other thought was, as I was going through the resiliency fund proposal, it would be good to give a copy of the current master plan to the Board of Selectmen as an attachment to that request to establish the resiliency fund.
The budget submission plan that we're now going to rename master plan update?
Yes. And again, we might want to flesh it out a little more than that, but it lists all of the topics that are that we want on our radar screen, and it gives a little thumbnail description of each. So that's that's why I'm thinking maybe it's just a 2020 addendum to the plan, and just have a brief introductory paragraph that says, hey, over the last 5 years, this is what those 9 items have evolved into.
Yeah, and actually some of the language in the resiliency plan letter are a good way to frame the addendum, because we have kind of rethought our master plan. We're no longer saying let's put walls up everywhere. We're now sort of prioritizing our approach, given that we can't afford walls up everywhere anymore, because that was $564 million.
Right.
Yep.
So
that's why I'm, as I was looking through the resiliency fund proposal, I thought that it might be good, not as an attachment to that proposal necessarily, but following very shortly after, send out a, whatever we wind up calling it, the addendum to the 2015 master plan or something like that, so that they can have both documents within a short time from received within a short time of one another, and kind of see the type of things that this resiliency fund would be earmarked for.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Right, so I will work on putting that together. Becky, you send out the final version as Brian received it, and then I'll work on adding an introductory paragraph or something, and then I will send that around.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think he put everything in, as I said, with the exception of, I don't think he put in the stormwater and wave erosion mitigation study. I'm not sure he put that in.
But you have not gotten a document from him, have you? Whatever form he submits his budget requests in, you have not gotten that.
No, he sent me an email back saying, I will add everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think I got copied on that somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Do
you want me to give an update on the wastewater treatment plant now, or wait until other business?
Go ahead and do it now.
Okay.
Okay.
So the wastewater treatment plant is a disaster. It's really interesting because we now have gotten the approval for the extension to September of 2021 to have the work completed. And that was primarily because of the contamination that was found in the soils and the back and forth with DEEP and the EPA as to what the remediation measures should be. They have basically accepted the remediation measures as proposed. The contractor has been digging out a shallow excavation along the line of the sheet piles, such that they are testing the scoopfuls from that excavation, and where necessary, they're digging down a little bit more, throwing that dirt away, putting back new, clean dirt, so that I don't know. I don't understand the whole thing. But that's reaching its final throes. Everybody's happy with that. In fact, they have started driving additional sheet piles now, so they are extending the length of the sheet pile wall. The other thing that's happening, they were gearing up to build the pump station number 1, which is the larger pump station that's going to pump rainwater from within the dike out to the sound. In driving the piles, they found that that location is part of the extent of landfilling that was done in the, I don't know, pick a decade, the 40s, the 50s, the 30s, the 60s.
Wow.
And they're finding, like they found a big piece of rubber conveyor belt, something like the old DuPont Fairpreen would manufacture, you know, like a 30-inch wide, 3/4-inch thick, long chunk of rubber. And
wow.
I can envision the manufacturing plant having off-spec material and saying, oh, this is garbage, throw it in the garbage, and it goes to the landfill.
Yeah.
They're finding old bottles and all kind of tree stumps. They have 3 of the sheets that can't be driven down any further because they're hitting they think they're tree stumps. So this whole project at the landfill, because of the landfill, is just one heartache after another. So it's like
they're trying to put footings in. Is that it?
Pardon?
Are they trying to drive footings into the ground to put the building there?
No, for the pump station. The pump station has to go down, I think it's about 15 feet below the existing grade to the bottom of the well in the pump station. So they have to make a cofferdam of piles so that they can dig that deep hole and not have the water come into it, so they can put the pieces of the precast pump station in place. So it's driving those sheet pile cofferdam that's giving them trouble. And then on top of that, of course, you dig down to the water line and there's an oily sheen, and you have to look at the oily sheen to make sure there's no PCBs in it and figure out what you're going to do with the dewatering water that you take out of there. So it's just a disaster. As far as the earthen ramp to go up and over at the 2 points for the berm, that will probably be done next summer. There's a whole brouhaha about the buses because you got to get the buses in and out. If you build the berm, you can build it 1 lane at a time. You got the garbage trucks. You got the buses during the morning and the afternoon. With the COVID, the buses run all day. So it's like that's what I'm saying. It's good that we got that extension to next September because that will allow us to build those over ramps as the last item in construction and do that when school lets out in June. So that's the update. It's started moving again. The contamination protocols of how to remediate it are in place, and everybody's happy, except it's costing a lot more money. And I don't know if the RTM did the final approval of it, but we're on the cusp of everybody approving that we accept the additional $300,000 from the state as an additive amount of money to the grant, and that will pay for much of the additional unexpected remediation. I don't think it's pay for all of it. So it's moving very slowly, and it's a mess.
Dick,
Lovely.
holes that they're digging where they're finding the, call it oily water, what are the test results disclosing?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's what my sense is that if it's only oil, gasoline, motor oil, hydrocarbons of that ilk, that they don't do anything about it. When they take that water and they put it in a little thing to separate the oils from the water, and then they take the oils and truck it off as a hazardous waste. If it's got PCBs in it, that's a different remediation measure. So it's like there are accepted remediation measures for that type of groundwater contamination. but it's just another thing that has to be done and another cost that will be incurred. And it might just be some local little puddle of oil that, and the rest of it is clean and green.
Oh, or we might be sitting on a bus depot that's leaking who knows what. Anyway, hopefully it's nothing big. All right, let's move on to our next agenda item if there's no more updates on the master plan. And agenda item 3 on call is update on discussion for a town resiliency fund. So I believe I had sent out the most recent draft to everybody, and what I'd love to do is take comments, but let me give you some background first. So you're all aware, because of our prior meeting conversations, that we wanted to propose to the town of Fairfield that we set up a town resiliency fund to pay for long-term liabilities of sea level rise and more intense storms. You're also aware that the Senate had passed a bill that allowed towns who set up such funds to accrue funds at a much higher interest rate than their normal town funds can accrue, something more similar to a 4 to 5%, which is what pension funds are able to accrue. Therefore, it's advantageous for us to save for our long-term liabilities in this manner.
Right.
So I had reached out several months ago to Tom Flynn and asked for his advice on this, and had sent him a copy of this as well as a copy to Bill and Laura for their comments. And the proposal that you have in front of you today reflects his comments as well as their comments. The only other thing that he had asked us to put together is a 20-year plan that shows the cost of funds, both in terms of the interest cost of the funds as well as the interest potential over a 20-year period. And he wants me to work with Tom Brenner in finance to pull that 20-year plan together. And Dick, I think, had provided some feedback as well, which is incorporated in the document you have in front of you. So I don't know how many of you got a chance to read it, but
yeah, I've read it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'd like to, if you have, hopefully you have read it, I'd like to take any comments so that we can make any edits. And then I think the next steps are to, if we are ready to approve it today, we can do that, and then I will just work with Tom Brenner to get the 20-year chart, and we will put that in front of the Board of Selectmen at I guess one of their future meetings.
Just like to comment, you write very well. I wish I could write that well. You did a good job. It's a lot of work. It's excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, this is Dick. I have a couple comments. I did give some comments to Becky, and as I sent her my comments, and then I was reading them again, and I sent her another comment, because every time I read this thing, I have other thoughts that come into my mind. So I sort of apologize for that to Becky. So on page 2, and the other thing on the date, it's dated October 20th, 2020. Are you going to wait, Becky, and date this on the date you send it to them after you get this attachment from Tom Bremer?
No, I think what I was thinking is if we approve this today, I think I would actually send this out as is today, saying it was approved by the board. And then what I would do is just say we'd like to come discuss this at a future Board of Selectmen meeting. And in that meeting, we will work with the Board of, and as we prepare for that meeting, we will work with the Board of Finance to pull together a 20-year cost.
Gotcha. Okay. Understand, and I understand, and I agree with that. I think we should just get this done and send it out and start. Everything takes so long as it is. We need to start the process. So
that was my thought. So if we approve this today or with any changes, my proposal would be to send this out today and then just mention that we will get this 20-year plan. Okay,
and I think that's an excellent idea.
Yes.
Next comment is on page 2, the second paragraph. Down, I get the middle line actually. Starts with the word improved. improved, whether rebuilding Penfield and or sunken island reefs would significantly mitigate. I would capitalize island because sunken island is kind of the name of that.
Okay. Done.
That sunken bunch of rocks.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then down in, let's see, the same on page 2, paragraph 2, 3, 4, 5, paragraph 6 at the very end. It says several other municipalities are evaluating such action, and I'm going back and forth with using the word such or using the word similar because it also reads well to me if it says several other municipalities are evaluating similar action. So I defer to the group.
I'm happy to make it similar. Although to be fair, I don't know how many have moved it forward. I had a conversation with the chief financial officer of the town of Brantford, who had said that he had been talking to some other towns, but I honestly have no sense of how far any of those towns have progressed, if at all. So I think we need to be careful about.
Well, you could hedge that by having the sentence say, the town of Brantford has established such a fund, and they report that several other municipalities are evaluating similar action.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I mean that way you're not the source of saying other towns.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, I have just made that edit.
Okay.
Any other comments?
That's now in that sentence. To me, the word similar fits better. The town of Brantford, so that it would read, the town of Brantford has established such a fund, and they report that several other municipalities are evaluating similar actions.
Yes, sounds good.
Okay, and then I'm changing the last paragraph on page 2, or last sentence, actually. This request and proposal was approved by a unanimous vote of our board on October 20th. I'm assuming we're going to approve it, as opposed to, I think I just said that will be approved October 20th, but I'm going to, assuming we approve it, I will make that was approved. And
then it would also say, with 4 of the 5 members in attendance.
I'm just going to say by our board.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you go. All right.
Sounds good.
That's better. That's a better spin. I have one other comment because you go and you include the Public Act 1977, the text of that. I wonder if, and again, the way I printed this out, it's at the bottom of page 2. It says the fund would be managed jointly by the FECB and town DPW, and any expenditures would have to be reviewed and authorized by the Board of Selectmen and appropriate town bodies. I would add, semicolon, as required by Public Act number 19-77, section 1.e, period. Just because that language is in the act. So why not just say that this requirement has the force of law behind it or something like that?
The Senate Bill number 1062, Public Act 19-77.
Again, that's a comment. It's certainly not a sticking point at all with me. I just think it adds to the fact that we're trying to encourage all of us to work within that statute, and the statute does not let us run willy-nilly with this money. It requires that all of the town bodies approve it.
Sounds good.
All right. Peter, I don't know if
I do have one more thing. At the end, we're in the appendices. After the end of that item that talks about the bad concrete, you list all of the references and the history and the links online to return to a list of chapters and so forth. I don't know that adds anything to this, and I would leave it out.
Okay, that's easy enough. So taking history out too.
Peter, do you have any comments on that?
No.
Becky, I would just after the last sentence, which ends in a negative impact on such municipalities' economy would result. Period. I would just delete all of that public PA bup up history bup up.
Okay.
Dick, where are you referring to now?
At the very end of Becky's letter, at the end of the appendices.
Oh, at the end of the appendices. Okay. The section in blue?
Yeah, it's like in blue and red, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are they in bed? Emily? They go to bed? Yeah.
Dick, it's very easy to put too much authority in, too much specificity in. Sometimes you get caught in your own trap. I agree with you.
No, but I mean, this is just copy pasted from as you look at these things online. This is all there, and I don't think it adds to our presentation.
Precisely my point. If it doesn't add anything, why risk raising something that could give rise to questions? As remote as it might be. If it doesn't advance our cause, why put it in?
All right, I'm taking it.
So with that, having come to the end of this document, I would make a motion that this board approve the document as amended in this conversation, and that Becky send it on to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay. I second the motion. That's great.
And I have a second. Everyone in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, the motion is passed. I will make these edits and send this on to the Board of Selectmen with a caveat that I will be working with the Board of Finance to prepare a 20-year cost.
And you're going to put that in the cover. You're going to send this to them by email, I would expect, right?
I'll send it by email, and I will put that in the note to them that I will be
You'll put that in the cover email about
exactly
how we are preparing for our turn on their agenda.
Yes, and I will ask for a date sometime in probably November-ish, because I'm assuming it will take me a while to get the Board of Finance to help me put that together, because honestly, they should do it. I would hope that they would do it as opposed to me having to do it, but we'll work with them to get it done. All right, item 4 on call, update on proposed charter revision. So we had approved a charter revision. I sent that off and was told that they could not make any revisions, but there would be a town charter revision committee that would be set up, and that this would fall under the remit of that town charter revision committee for their review and approval. So it's kind of sitting there until that committee gets formed, which they did not give me any indication of when it would be formed. But as soon as
have you had a conversation with the who's Baldwin? Is that the town attorney? Is James Baldwin now? I think.
I haven't had a conversation, but that's the email. The email I got back was that he would make sure that this got put in front of that committee once it had been formed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you got an email from him. Jennifer said, no, it's not. Yeah.
No, I actually followed up. And just said, when will this all happen? And that was when he wrote an email back saying that apparently there is going to be a committee formed to do revisions.
Yeah, but he didn't give any kind of hint as to the timeline for that, did he?
He did not.
He sent it was like a one-sentence reply.
Exactly. So I think we just have to be on the lookout. I'm sure I get all the town notices, as do I'm assuming several of you. Let's just have it on our radar that once we hear a committee has been formed, we will find out who the members of that committee are and send this to them post haste.
Yes, we need to send this to everybody 3 times because it's like, I kind of remember something about that, but I don't know where it got to. I'm frankly disappointed in that because I thought that when we had this brouhaha about the pile and Joe Michelangelo was fired and all this crap, they were talking about how, but the charter doesn't require checks and balances. We have to make it very strong so that we're good from here on out. I would have thought that revision to the charter would have had more visibility and focus than this seems to represent.
Well, the only thing I'm thinking is I can certainly reach out to our RTM members because any charter revision would obviously have to go through the RTM. So I can reach out to Bill Perugini and Rick Crowler.
Yeah, that'd be a good place to put some pressure on getting the charter revision done.
And there's 4 of them, right? Drew is another one in our district, and I've forgotten the 4th. Anyway, I will reach out to our members and just say.
Wait, Rick is still Rick Grauer, Drew Georgiadis, Perugini,
Drew, Bill Perugini,
Chrissy Kelly.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Chrissy Kelly's a Republican. Rick's a Republican. Drew's a Democrat. Perugini's a Republican. Is that 5?
It's only 4 for our district. It's 4 for every district.
Oh, there's 4 now? Oh, okay. So Rick, Chrissy, Drew, and Bill Perugini. I get those are our 4.
So I can send this charter revision proposal out to them just to, or even just send a note saying, can you let me know when charter revisions come? Can you let the Flood and Erosion Control Board know when charter revisions come on the table? Because we have submitted a charter revision proposal and wanted.
And then let them come back and say, what's your proposal? I'm interested to see what it's about, and send it to them.
Yeah. And Rick will probably say that.
There you go. Then they can have their little district confab and chat it up.
So I think that's the update as to where that sits now, but hopefully there will be future town action taken on that.
Becky, am I correct that there are other reasons for charter revisions over and above what we've proposed?
Well, Brenda had mentioned when she took office that she believed there should be several revisions to the charter given the way various things were handled around the pile. So she has sort of very overtly mentioned that in her campaigning and in her messaging to the town. And that's where there was talk of a charter revision committee being set up. And my sense is, unless I'm wrong, the sense I got from the town lawyer is that committee has not yet been set up.
Okay, but they are not forming that committee simply to satisfy our request.
Oh, absolutely not.
We're riding the coattails of First Selectman's request.
Yes, we will be part of presumably many requests for charter reviews.
Great. Thank you.
All right, so our last item on call is additional old or new business as may come before the board. Does anyone have any additional old or new business to discuss?
You want to talk a little bit about this dredging Pine Creek ad hoc movement that's afoot out on the peninsula?
Yeah, we probably should. I mean, we did mention it to Brian Carey, so he is aware of it, and presumably he is going to be meeting with Antonio and the consultant this Friday at the turnaround. I will not be there because I'm out of town, but if anyone else wants to go, I think
I'm planning on going there. I'll be there.
Don?
I'm sorry, excuse me. Becky, who is Brian Carey meeting with?
So Brian Carey is meeting with Antonio, and I will get you the spelling, Gugliari or something, who is leading this effort along with a consultant he has hired, Alexoska, which I will also get you the spelling, and I've forgotten her last name. And
Thank you.
They will be meeting with Brian Carey as well as interested neighborhood groups at the turnaround this coming Friday.
Becky, do we know how far up the creek they're proposing to dredge?
No, we know no details about scope or anything.
The only thing they did say is they wouldn't be going very far. They would not be going anywhere near as far as Daniels Pond, for example. They would be stopping way short of that. The implication was they would dredge a little further than what was done after Sandy, but there was no formal scope identified, as Dick said.
Yeah, I had a brief conversation with Brian Carey about this because I presented to him my thought, which is one of the reasons that might support doing this, that having a good channel cross section would help the tidal exchange into and out of the marshes and thus keep the marshes healthy. And he said that there's such a height difference between high tide and the level of the marshes that even if it silted in a little bit more, the water there'd be plenty of water going along there to get into the marshes and keep them healthy. The other thing that he said was, if you're gonna dredge that, you can go and dredge out the sand that got moved into the mouth of the creek and a little bit up the creek. But when you start getting into the mud and muck sediment further up the creek, you don't necessarily want to go disturbing that. And this goes to one of the points from the residents out on the peninsula with the fill pile. Oh, we got all this bad stuff in the fill pile, and it's going to leach out over time, and it's going to be in the mud, and if I eat a clam, I'll die, and this kind of thing. And he kind of gave credence to that along the let sleeping dogs lie theory, and don't go digging up the muck because you don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
Before you dredge, you also have to take samples and categorize the samples as to what their chemical constituents are, whether they're suitable for dumping at what do they call it? The tail? No, not the tailings. I don't know, the waste. You have to dump it somewhere, and the receiving location has to accept that caliber, quantity, of characteristic material. So there's a whole lot of Mother May I's and analytical work that has to precede getting a dredge in there. And that's what I mean. Alexandra, I think she goes by Alex. So she has been in contact with the deep guy, apparently. What's his name here? I think she said his name. Kevin Zawoy. This is from her invitation to the meeting. I have contacted Kevin Zawoy, Zawoy, Connecticut Deep. He advises me to file a new application with all supporting documents from the old one. If this works, it will save us a lot of money and time on consultants. Well, if you're going to say to the DEP, I want to dredge this out, I don't think they're going to just say, oh, yeah, you got this old 8-year-old information? Sure, well, Sure, that's good money.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So this has a long road to hoe, but it's it's something that's afoot.
Does anybody have any sort of benchmark relative to how deep the creek is now, how deep it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago? And I ask because in anticipation of this request, I've taken my little kayak up the creek several times over the past couple months, and it's not very deep. It's certainly deep enough for most outboards, medium-sized craft. I mean, you're not going to bring a big sailboat in with a keel or anything like that, but...
That's true at high tide, but low tide, there's sandbars in there.
Right.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not high and dry at low tide.
Right. No, but there are a couple of sandbars, I think.
And there's some poles right at the entrance. There's some poles that if you go around them, you have enough water. And I certainly have no problem with making that navigable stretch, if that's what it is, a little bit wider. But I'm very wary as to why people want to dredge it. If they say, we want to take sand to put it on the beach. Boats in and out at low tide.
They don't want to have to be slave to the tide as to when they can take their boats in or out.
Well, no, I think, Dick, the point is, how do you define boats? At any tide, you can take boats in and out, and I'm not talking about a little paddle board. I've never seen it less than a few feet deep. What is it they're looking to bring in and out of there? My concern.
I think most of like the Boston whalers or things that might have a, call it 2 to 3 foot draft, cannot get in at low tide or out at low tide.
Well, maybe I haven't hit it at absolute dead low tide, but that's a pretty...
I have been in at low tide, and I can tell you that in my little kayak, at very low tide, there are a few little small channels of water where you can just get kayaks over, but you could not get 3 feet of boat, and you could probably not get 2 feet of boat.
Right.
You might be able to get one. You might be able to get a rubber dinghy, but you couldn't get an outboard motor behind that rubber dinghy because it would probably hit bottom.
The point taken. I think that's a good point, but I would go back to, all right, at the entrance there, perhaps they need to do some dredging, but and I'm putting the cart way before the horse, but I'd sure like to know a lot more about how much they want to dredge.
Didn't he talk about 40,000 cubic yards?
I'm sorry?
I think the presentation we had before, someone mentioned, I think it was 40,000 cubic yards he was going to take out. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what he said.
Yeah. 40,000 cubic yards sounds like a lot to me, but I am far from an expert, so...
Yeah. I'm going by memory on that one.
My concern is, I think there's a lot of sentiment in favor of dredging it, let's say, to 8 feet. I just pick out a number. 8 feet,
that's a lot.
Well up into the marsh.
Oh, wait, at low tide?
Probably, I don't know, low tide, high tide. I don't. The number really doesn't matter. My point is, I remember at least 50 years ago when they wanted to put a marina in up there.
Yeah.
I can't imagine for a moment that DEEP would allow a marina to go in there, but I really would like to know, why does this gentleman want it dredged? If he just wants to be able to moor his boat behind his house, well, I guess that's fine, but I wouldn't want to stretch it much beyond that. It's a gratuitous comment.
Well, my frustration is you can dredge it, and 5, 6, 7 years later, it's filled in again. You haven't gained anything, yeah? It's a lot of money for nothing.
Well, that's for sure. And maybe you could go and have some engineering firm design something that would channel the water such that it would naturally dredge it just at the mouth there. But maybe that doesn't serve the purpose.
You build a jetty out to Sunken Island, right? That's, I think people think that would do it.
Yeah. I guess it's as much curiosity as anything. If the fellow behind this is the one that built all those places down at the end of the beach, I don't mind saying I'm very suspicious.
Yes. Why is he doing it? No question.
I'm sorry to digress. Becky, I had one other thing to report relative to Jim Baldwin.
Yes.
I believe I circulated the email that I received from Jim, and simply put, he advised that FECB members are provided by the town with full coverage, including defense, so long as we are within our official capacities. We do something illegal, we're not covered, et cetera, et cetera. And I sent him a note thanking him for providing it to us in formal fashion, which certainly relieves some concern on my part. And I think I did distribute it.
Yes, you
did. Yes. Thank you for following up with that. That was great.
My pleasure.
Okay. Any other old or new business?
Yeah, I have one new business item. Just looking ahead, November, and the election is only 2 weeks away, and this is an off-year election as far as our town elections are concerned. But nonetheless, every year we have one of our members whose term is up on November 30th. So
that would be me.
So just anticipating that, I note that this year it would be Ms. Bunnell's chance to abandon ship. And I would like to make a motion that the board, the four remaining members of the board, unanimously ask her to please send a letter to the first select woman asking to be reappointed to the board, to the Flood and Erosion Control Board.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Hi. Doing a great job, Becky.
Thank you for volunteering. Stay on.
Did I get a chance to comment?
Sure.
Oh, I think Paul told me to vote on his behalf.
Oh, that's not a real vote. Only the chairwoman can call a real vote.
I don't think you need to vote on this. I would be happy to write a letter requesting that I re-up for a additional term. Let's see if they allow that.
Let's hope so.
I think
change the charter.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So I think with no other old or new business that comes before the board, I'm going to call the meeting adjourned.
Okay.
I think I can stop the recording, which I have to figure out how to do again.
It's actually when you hang up, it will automatically stop.
Oh, okay. I think pressing *9.
Yeah, you can press *9.
Becky?